Hi, class. Okay, so this will be the first video for our Watershed project. And I am going to start from the very top, but I wouldn't rush ahead. I'm going to go not quickly, but I'll keep it succinct. And if you just follow along, you can make sure that you caught all of the steps. So when you open up Pro, you're going to start a new project with a map, okay? And as I went over in class, I'm not sure what's happening here. As I went over in class, it's very important to tell the software where you want to put your project, okay? And so I am going to put this one on my OneDrive. All right. So if you're at a school computer and you don't see your name or anything, and you just go to Windows C, go down to Users, and you should see your username in there, and then OneDrive Texas Tech. Okay. And you should have a folder for our class, and that's it. You're just going to point it to our class folder, okay? And then you click OK, all right? And please follow this naming convention, so add your name. I may have done it differently before, but as long as you get this stuff in there, F24 is for fall semester, and then let's call this Watershed project, and then it looks like I made that capital. Okay, so it's going to create that local folder for us, and then it's going to open up with the default map. And the first thing we're going to want to do is set a projection that's appropriate for CONUS, which is the continental United States. Okay, so this doesn't include Alaska, Hawaii, and stuff. So just double click on your map. All right, go to coordinate systems. And if you haven't done this already, go to projected and continental North America, okay, and scroll close to the bottom. You will see Albers equal area conic, and if you haven't done this, right click, add to favorites. It's a good one, okay, and so far so good. So do a Control S to save. Okay, now let's load in our watersheds. So we're going to click on catalog. And remember that analogy I gave you, that the table of contents is like a book that you're currently reading, and these are the chapters, and you can see them displayed here. But then the catalog is like walking into the library, and you can find pretty much everything you want in here, okay? So we're going to go to the portal. We're going to go to Living Atlas, and we are just going to type in HUC2. Okay, and we're going to pull in the HUC2 layer, okay, and we are going to pull in the HUC4. Okay, so these are the two biggest hydrologic unit codes. And then it's up to you to pick what you would like to do this project on, okay? If you want to do a regional HUC, that's fine, all right? If you want to do a smaller HUC, that's fine as well. They're both gonna look really nice if you know, you follow the directions, and hopefully if I am able to get the, you know, everything squared away for you. Okay, so what I am going to do is I am going to choose a HUC that is surrounded by land, and I'm going to choose this one here. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to edit, and I'm going to choose select. Okay, but before I do that, I want to make sure I name this correctly. So I'm going to select that layer, and these tabs appear when you select layers. Okay, different tabs appear depending upon the layer. Okay, so that's very helpful. So just hit labeling and then click on this this tag here. So my HUC is called the Upper Colorado region. Okay, so I'm going to select that. Okay, and once it's outlined in cyan, you know it's selected. And then you can come over here to your layer, right click, all right, go down to data and export the feature. Okay, and on output feature class, I'm gonna put my cursor right at the end there and carefully backtrack to that /, okay, and then without any spaces, I am gonna call this the Upper Colorado region. Okay, and then I am going to click OK. All right, now I can get rid of these guys, so I will shift click and then right click and remove them. Okay, now what I want to do is set up my scale and what size sheet I am going to use. All right, so I'm going to insert a layout, and if you go to new layout, so I would like us, we all need to actually do this, stick to 18 by 24 portrait or landscape, or you can do 24 by 24 square. So I'm going to start off with portrait since my HUC is taller than it is wide. I'm going to come up here to insert, and I want to insert the map that we are working on. So I'm going to click on this. All right, and then I'm just going to draw this out, and those smart guides are helpful. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here to my Colorado region, right click and choose zoom to layer. Okay, so far so good. We're going to leave it alone at this. We're not going to set up a scale or anything yet because I want you to see right off the bat how your final layout is going to look. Okay, we're going to do that by putting in the state boundaries. Okay, so go back to portal. Okay, and we're in the Living Atlas. So let's just put in state boundaries. And not always crazy. This one's good. I'm not always crazy about generalized boundaries, especially when we're dealing with water features near the coast. Okay, so grab this one and put your boundaries on top. Okay, and now we need to symbolize this. And this isn't terribly important right now. Just use this default, you guys won't have these, but just use this default dashed. Okay, now here's what is important. All right, so if I go back to my map, all right, our projection is based around the geometric center of the United States, okay? So if you're anywhere in this region, things are going to be pretty good, okay? Even down here, not too much distortion. But we have some big watersheds, and I know they've been chosen by several students that are going to be in the northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. Now, when you put your map frame on your layout, things are going to look really wonky, okay? And we don't want that. So what we're going to have to do is choose a more localized projection that is suitable for your area. So it's not difficult at all. In fact, why don't we go back to our layout, okay? And I can see, in fact, let me bump these up. I'm going to click on that symbol, go to properties. Let's go to 3. Okay, so I don't want my states to look like that, but at the same time, I want to have a proper projection. So what I am going to do is look what's in the middle, and it is, let's see, it's going to be the western half of Colorado. All right. Now, this is how you manipulate your sheet of paper. You double click on this. This is how you can manipulate your map frame. All right. But this is actually the exact same thing as this. Okay, so your map is here, and you can do pretty much everything that you want here. Okay, so you don't always have to jump back and forth. All right, so let's double click on map. Okay, and I want to find, if you're doing this, and you definitely need to if you're in one of those quadrants, we will be using the best projections for this will be state plane. Okay, so click on state plane and just choose NAT 83 2011 meters, and then every state will have 1 to 4 or 5 different projections. Okay, so just pick the one that's best for you. So here I am in Colorado, and state plane Colorado North and Central and South. I'm just going to choose Central. Okay, so I'm going to pull this to the side and watch the state boundaries. Oops, sorry. I'll hit apply. Okay, so now those look better. Let me see state plane north. Looks a little better. And state plane south. Okay, they're all about right. Okay, so that's good. And we can also rotate our map, which we can notate in our legend later. Okay, so it's important early on when you're doing any project, whether it's AutoCAD, GIS, hand drafting, you always want to think about your end product, because you can spend a lot of time and then realize, oh my gosh, you know, this is, the scale's off, or this projection is wrong. Okay, so keep that in mind, especially in AutoCAD. It's the exact same thing. This is model space, this is paper space. I like to jump into paper space pretty quickly and get a sense of what my scale is going to be. All right, so let's do some tweaking to our map frame. All right, and remember, this is your map, this is your map frame, so let's double click on that. Let's make sure we're locked in right. Our map frame, this isn't our paper, this is our frame, so we nailed it right on those smart guides. And then remember from our test, that's your x-axis, that's your y-axis, and this is your point of beginning. So everything's in positive space. Everything's in this northeast quadrant, and we're at 0, 0, so that's all good. All right, Now, do not have your map frame stroked. So take off that. Now, this is the one that's really helpful and important. This is where you're going to set your scale. You can rotate your map, which is fine. You just note it on the legend. The USGS does the same thing, okay? So remember, the bigger this number is, the smaller your features will be, okay? And I'm pretty much right on the money, all right? And just to give you an idea of the end product, right now, all we're concerned about is our map rendering. When all of this is done, we're gonna bring it into Photoshop, and then we'll create our borders and an area for our legend, and all of that good stuff, okay? So I'm just gonna go with 1,750,000. Okay, now I think y'all understand how these ratio scales work. What this is saying is that 1 inch, 1 physical inch on this sheet of paper, and this paper is 2 feet by 1.5 feet. So 1 inch on this paper is actually the equivalent of 1.75 million inches in reality. Okay, now let's bump this to where we've got some nice straight lines here. Okay. And that looks pretty good. So 2 degrees. Remember, you need to have a nice round number here. Okay. So anything around 5, so 1.5, 1.75, 2, something like that. All right, now when you're completely done with this, come up here, and when you click on Fix Center and Scale, you're locking that in place. Okay, so now let's do some house chores, and let's name our map frame Upper Colorado. And then Control A and Control C, okay? And then click on your map, and you can name it right here if you gently double click and do a Control V there, okay? And then the layout, let's gently double click on that, because that's gonna help us with our, when we're going to export a lot of files here. So let's make this a short, we'll just call this Upper CO. And then we're going to put endings on each one of those based on what we export. Okay, so let's come up here to Layout, Zoom Extents, and do a Control S. And then the last thing we're going to do, and we will give credit to these guys, we just don't want it here, okay? Let's come up to Insert, and you're going to go to Dynamic Text, and just scroll down until you see Service Layer Credits. And remember, anytime you're going to insert something onto your layout, you get this little crosshairs, and the software's asking you to draw out a box where you want to insert the text box, the picture, the dynamic text. So just draw out a box here, okay? Now, gently click here. Always, oh my gosh, always name your layers. Just get into good craftsmanship habits, okay? So you can lock that and turn it off, okay? That's true for AutoCAD, all of that stuff. And your colleagues down the road will be very appreciative of it. All right, let's call this the end of our first mini section. So Control S, and I will upload this to YouTube and I will get working on the second one.